Shalom to the home team, man. What it do? What it do to the tribe, man? Hold up, man. I don't normally do this. Don't normally do this, man. I'm still learning how to do this stuff, man. Don't mind me. Show preview, man. Let's see what it do, man. Yeah. Okay. Man, what it do, man? What it do, man? What it do to the tribe, man? Look, I don't normally do this, man. You know what I mean? As far as pressing these buttons around here. But yo, man, this is some drive right here. It kind of mind blasted me, man. Like, you know them times, man, when you think you know something about a particular avenue of the drive, and then something comes along that connects something that you thought you already had a comprehension of, man. And that's what this Daniel, David, son of David drop is, man. All this drop that's been hitting us, it's just all the flow. You know what I mean? We've been digging on the Esquipulas, man, the Guatemala, the whole Black Christ figure, the symbolization, the symbology of it, connected back to Ezekiel, bearing the sins of Israel, connected back to Jesse being one of the sinless men. And you remember on that sinless man chart, you know what I mean, the fourth sinless man also was Kiliab, man. We got that Kiliab is Daniel. And it all, started meshing around. I mean, we're all familiar with the Book of Daniel, but how often do we connect it? How often do we connect Daniel with being the second son of King David? I mean, yo, look, this ain't play, man. Hold up. Get it from here, man. All right, man, look, I got the Sephir up, man, right? Boom, got the Sephir up. So, we got Chronicles. I got all this stuff marked, so I don't want to lose my place. Hold up. Do my twinkle fingers here, all right. So we got here we go. All right. Hope you can see that a little bit. I know it's dark. All right. Samuel, man, all right. I ain't really feeling this, camera thing. I know I got a light behind me, man, but I'm just trying to holler at y'all for a second. I'm gonna go right back in. And we're just gonna go from there. We got Samuel. All right. Then we got Daniel. You dig? Now, see if I can show you this. All right. This is Samuel. Daniel's way over here. All right. Samuel, where that Drop Nation, wristband is. And then on top of here, this is where you got, this is Daniel, man. All this goes, look at all this. Hold on, man. Y'all think it's play. Everybody think it's play. I need another bookmark. I'm using all kind of bookmark. All right. This to me is mind blasting, man. Maybe I'm tripping. You know what I mean? Maybe Drop is tripping. Maybe I'm tripping. When we talk Samuel, all right, King David, the sons are mentioned. Hold up, man. What's gonna get? Came over here for a reason. All right. First of all, I got a lot going on right now, man. That's how mind blasted I am. All right, you got Samuel. All right, then you got Kings. All right, you got Isaiah. All right, I'm in the Sephir. You got Jeremiah. You got Ezekiel. I'm just cruising. You got first and second Baruch. All right, and then you got Haggai and Micah, You know what I mean? Zechariah, and Psalms, and Proverbs, Ecclesiasticus, Chronicles. You got to go through all that to get to the book of Daniel. And that's what I want you to think about. You got David rocking way over here in 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st Kings, and all that. Let's try this again. All right. So that's where the wristband is. All right. Forgive my bookmarks. This is how I bookmark, stuff when I'm reconning in real time. All right. So you got to go through all that, man. You got to go through all this, man, to get to Daniel. So there's an immense separation. That does a lot to separate, your whole like even if you read that in the genealogy, that's not something that you just put together, because even in Samuel, you're not going to connect this book of Daniel situation and this whole timeline, around this Nebuchadnezzar and all this stuff with what's going on in Samuel. You're going to feel, according to this timeline, we're going to get back into timelines, you're going to feel like the book of Daniel was way later than 1st and 2nd Samuel and 1st Kings. I mean, look at all this drop that happens in between it. You're not thinking that this is all simultaneous drop. And why would they hide that? Why, no matter how much I've studied, I haven't really digested the fact that Daniel, the book of Daniel, is David's son. Not only is Daniel David's son, but Daniel is David's second son. That means that Daniel is older than King Solomon. That means that King Solomon is little bro to Daniel. You're going to have to dig on it, man. You're going to have to dig on it. You're going to wonder why they put all this time in between the time. They space it out. And what we're coming to is that as you recon the book of Daniel, man, you're able to really start connecting it to like the Anatoly Fomenko, true chronology and all that that's getting put together in Russia, and this has a lot to do with Russia, so it has a lot to do with Anatoly Fomenko. He's kind of in, kind of ground zero for a lot of this Babylon talk, because there's a lot of link between ancient Russia, which literally got conquered by Genghis Khan, right? So Genghis Khan had to conquer that area and then conquer the Americas and all that around the 1200s, 1300s. This is the investigation, man. Now you go back, you dig on it. You dig on the work. So let's put it together in a mind bone. Genghis Khan has to first conquer Russia, Black Russia. Black Russia is Hebrew Russia. Hebrew Russia is David Russia, right? King of the three Indias. That's one of the three Indias. Not just Russia, but all that, right? That's pretty much most of Asia right there. The first Genghis Khan got to, get that in check, right? You know what I'm saying? But this is towards this invasion now. Then you got that connection with Genghis Khan and Shalmaneser. I'm just putting it together in real time with you. Genghis Khan invades that Russia. That's connected to a lot of this Babylon talk. You know what I'm saying? According to Fomenko, Russia is pretty much ground zero for what they built in parts of what they would call Jerusalem over there. But also there's this Babylon connection that's directly connected with this Nebuchadnezzar or Shalmaneser or Genghis Khan. And all of it, very well could be going down. And, really looks like that, man, according to our recon, around these 1200s, 1300s, all the way up to the 1500s. So this is what we're digging on, this timeline shift of things that we thought happened in the BCs, 1,000 years way back, 1,800 years way back. All these time shifts, according to Scaliger and Batavius chronology, these are time shifts that are just nullified. You know what I mean? These are asinine time shifts. These are time shifts purposely to put you in this spell, this illusion, by pushing your history back and rewriting history on top of you and filling in the gaps. Because how many people, when you ask who Daniel's dad is going to say King David? Maybe I'm slow. Maybe I'm just lost in the sauce. Maybe. But that's not a real common, point. But when you recon it, you can, it's not like it's hidden. I don't want to say like it's some secret drop. And if you knew that already, no problem. Good. I'm just saying, like, you might have thought you knew that already. But did you really think about what that means, what that entails? You know what I'm saying? That Daniel is literally the, pops. We're talking pops, man. You know what I mean? So let's get it, man. Daniel, man, he's a David, man. All right. So when we read the book of Daniel, you're just reading a continuation of David's story. So we're just talking a continuation of the seed, of the tree. Daniel's not separate from that, When you're just picking up the story, especially when it's being taught in Christianity, it's like you're just being, it's like you're just picking up on the story with him, the three other, pure youths, that are being taken in with this king, king of Babylon, who wants the wisest, most unblemished youth, and he's just one of these unblemished youth. And later we just, are really coming into, the ether of the overstanding, that he's one of the four sinless men, according to, the documents that we're breaking down, these four sinless men. We know we got other blameless men like Job, and, but it's like Ezekiel, but, it's like this particular rock right here, man, Daniel is literally the second son of David, all right? Older brother of King Solomon. Like, you just gotta let that sink in. So all the drop that we're digging on in terms of Priest King Prester John, Solomon, Sylvanus, Texas, the timelines and all that stuff, whether we're talking 700s AD, whether we're talking 1200s AD, whether you're going all the way up to the 1500s, 1600s AD, this is where you're going to be finding Daniel for real. And the way that it's about to link right now, right here, man, we're just going to surf the wave and fall back, man, just kick back. And let's read up on Daniel and see if we tripping, See if they put that out there. Because I don't think they mentioned that one time in the book of Daniel. Please let me know. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they mentioned that one time that he's the son of David, man. Ain't that an important fact? Wouldn't that be the first thing you mention? It's the most famous king in the history of Israel, King David. One shepherd forever. You're not going to tell us that Daniel, in the book of Daniel, is the second son of David? And he's without sin, without transgression, just like David's dad is without sin, without transgression. We all know David's transgression and how he had to get redeemed from that. So whether we're talking about batting 100 or 99 or 95, what you're seeing, again, is pedigree. For the most part, seeds of David, for the most part, of a certain line, for the most part, they're going to choose up. They might still fall short, but you're seeing these sinless men directly connected with David, his dad, and his son Daniel, older brother of King Solomon. All right, so take all that. Let's go, man. Let's go. I'm still fiddling around with this, man. Cut myself off earlier. I think I got it, man. I think we good. We good, man. So, yeah, man, surf the wave. We just talking about Daniel, man. Don't even trip, man. Let's go. Daniel, the prophet of the Bible. And hold up, man, one more thing, man. Well, I got this open in front of me. One more thing. Yeah, where's the webcam thing? Okay. There we go. One more thing, man. All right. I'm just reading out the Sefer of Daniel. And again, the first thing you should be telling me, if you're writing a book about Daniel at all, is that he's the son of King David. Now that puts this timeline thing, it really makes it interesting. Because think about 1st and 2nd Samuel, think about King Saul, you know what I mean? Think about all that going down. And he's the second son of David. This is all happening, man. It's all happening. Think about that timeline, and then think about this Nebuchadnezzar Babylon situation, the Babylonian exile. Doggone it, man. You know what this does, man? This puts the David during the Babylonian exile, man. Because some even say that David outlived Daniel. So that means that Daniel is going through all this while King David is alive, during a exile. And could this be the exile, when we talk about Genghis Khan and Prester John and how Genghis Khan won this particular war? Some say that Prester John was killed, but you know damn well he wasn't if they were still looking for him. If they still got a Portuguese monument up until 1645 AD, still looking for Prester John. So Daniel's coming from pedigree. And what this does, and this is, a good reason why they could have, I don't want to say straight up hit it, but they damn kind of hit it, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not mentioned. I'm reading the book of Daniel right now, the 7th, in the 3rd year of the reign of Yehoiakim, king of Yehuda, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. And Adonai gave Yehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with parts of the vessels of the house of Ahchwa, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his Elohim, his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his Elohim. And the king spoke unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and of the king's seed and the princes. Now it doesn't say King David, right? But it says the king's seed. So it's like it's hinting at something. You just need to connect it. You just need to understand it to know that they're saying King David. Now you can Google, Kiliab, is his name. Daniel's also called Kiliab. You can Google him and they'll connect him right to King David. But, if they can connect him directly like that there, how come they couldn't connect him directly like that in the script? You know what I'm saying? So no one's really Googling Kiliab, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So, I'm sure people get this, but then they don't really get it, you know what I mean? That's why I have to just, so we shine our light on this, man. This is very interesting because, again, all this is going down in the 3rd year of the reign of who they call Yehoiakim. Now, this is what it says in the Sefer. I'm going to look this up, too, in the, let me see something right quick. Here we go. Allah. I got this, what's this? The JPS Bible Hub, Tanakh 1917. Okay. Let's just put in Daniel. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What up? Sorry, not what? What'd you say, man? Bro. Daniel. What? Let's be specific about this. So they call him Jehoiakim. Jehoiakim. Alright, the Sefer calls it Yahu Yaquim. Alright, okay. So in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. Let's just think about this. This is David's son, older brother of Solomon. At this time, they said Daniel was young, right? So of course the king wanted some men. What'd he say? Bring in some Israelites from the royal families. They don't say in nobility. Now we know that they're talking the seeds of David. All right, young men without blemish, just like who? Like Jesse, right? Yeshai, Esau, right? Esau, Jesse, without blemish, young men without blemish, handsome, gifted in all wisdom, knowledgeable, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace and teach them the language and literature of the Chaldeans. The king assigned them daily provisions of the royal food and wine. They were trained for 3 years, after which they were to enter the king's service. Among these men were some from Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and some from Judah. All right, so these are the ones from Judah, right? So you got Daniel from Judah, all right? Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The chief official gave them new names. Daniel, he gave the name Belteshazzar. Then you got Hananiah, Shadrach. Mishael became Meshach. Okay. Then you got Abednego. Daniel made up his mind that he would not defile himself with the king's food and wine, so he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself. All right, this is David's son. Now, I'm just reading it to point out the fact that not one time did they mention this is the son of King David. The closest we got from it is it just says royal family and nobility. So you will have to dig deeper. Most people don't. Most Christians definitely don't, to know we're talking about King David's son. And nobody's really going to be recounting who's the father of Daniel unless they're really searching. But if you're just getting the blanket information, you have no idea who Daniel's father is. You definitely don't think he's King David, because that means that this Babylonian situation is connected to the what? To the exilarchs of Babylon. We're not going to get too much about his family, except he's the father of Hizdi the sixth. Hizdi the sixth. Now this one says he's the brother of Solomon. Man. You know what, man? I don't want to go crazy, but is it possible that this is Daniel? Who is Solomon's brother, and they're both the sons of David, right? Solomon's the son of David. Daniel is the son of David. In this case, he's being called David, possibly. And you click on his father, right? He's the son of Prester, John, who is King David. I'm just surfing the wave, man. I mean, this would match up with this particular genie. It could be everything, it could be nothing. Chew the meat, spit the bone. But this Prester John, and I'm not, look, hold on, man. You're just talking Prester John and that goose of Ethiopia, right? Ethiopia. I mean, you're just talking Prester John, El Preste Juan, Emperador or Emperor of the Abyssinios. Abyssinios. Follow me now. Just type in Ethiopia. Oh, it doesn't even come up. Ethiopia. There's no such thing as Ethiopia. Sorry. 1828. Let's do this. Let's type in Abyssinia. Oh man. Yeah, man. You know what I'm talking about. Abyssinia. All right. A name denoting a mixed multitude. They edited this thing before it said earlier form of Ethiopia, but don't even trip, man. We're just talking about Shemitic languages, by the way. Where's Shem? We're just talking about Habasa, the Habasa. Abyssinian peoples include these ethnic groups, Semitic languages of Ethiopia. Guess we'll click on it. You can read it right there. The Ethiopian Empire, Abyssinia. The Ethiopian Empire was historically known as Abyssinia. So when you have this here, Prester John, Emperor of the Abyssinios. That's Ethiopia's. Where? We already know where. We already know. At this point, man, it's just too much fun, man, to surf the wave, man, and put it all together in real time, man. That's all we're doing is putting it all together. Oh, man, we got some great picks, man. Yo, Seth the Real, what it do, man? Where's Ty Battle, man? Ty Battle, what it do? Oh, man, Ty Battle Poetry Hour, man. It's always lit. All right, man, let's go. was looking for that Prester map. Must have closed it already. Yeah, man, it's a Dragon War, man. It's a Dragon War, man. That's a great map of Quivera. Anion, we'll be right back on it. Don't forget about that flood of 899 either. Don't forget about that flood of 899. All right. Well, you know what I'm talking about, man. So, Emperor of the Abyssinians. And we know it's starting to get look clear what we're talking about when we talk about the Abyssinians. So, we know we're just talking Ethiopia. We know we're just talking Lebna Dangle, Ethiopia, or other variants of his name. Same person, 1508. Well, the variants, his name, I guess, being in use between this time frame. We're talking 16th century now, Lebna Dangle. And some of these could just be people following in the bloodline and all that stuff. But when you start connecting it around this same period, now you're talking, you know what I'm saying, Babylonian and King David and all this stuff being interlinked. But when's the Babylonian captivity for real, for real? Because you got this whole exilarchs, and of course you got back to Theodorus and the Sylvanus Toltexes and the Toltecs and all this stuff going down already right here. So come on now. Lebna Dangle. Negus of Ethiopia, or Abyssinios, right? Negus, king. Emperor de los Abyssinios. Negus, king. Got it, got it, got it, got it. Okay. David, Dawit, Negus of Ethiopia, same time. David, Negus of Ethiopia, same time. Uh-oh. Where's my light? Where's my flashlight? Prester John, Negus of Ethiopia. John, Prester, Negus of Ethiopia. Prester John, Negus of Ethiopia, or Abyssinios. Abyssinios. All right. Let's go. So, just overstand when we're talking about King Nebuchadnezzar and this whole Book of Daniel situation that we were just reading. This is going down damn near at the same time as, you know, King David's reign. You know what I'm saying? Something must have happened around that time. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, basically became this Babylonian, you know, takeover, which I can only compare to a Genghis Khan invasion of Prester John 1200 scenario. Now you could put it in that 13th century mark and, you know, slide it in between really the 13th to 15th century, especially when you know that they're still looking for Prester John in 1645 in memory of those seafarers who searched for Prester John up until 1645. I'm not going crazy. I'm just talking Prester John, Negus of Ethiopia, right? Prester John, Ethiopia, Abyssinia. Abyssinia is the earlier form of Ethiopia. Samuel Sewall came to America and called all of you Ethiopians. These Ethiopians, as black as they are, deserve to be treated with respect. Well, that's just the Abyssinios. We already got the map with Prester John holding down the spot. So let's keep going. So it's just incredible to connect what's going down with King David. 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, read all that to get the full context. And this Babylonian situation, because again, now we go into this Babylonian exile, right? Now we are back in this Anan ben David situation. You know what I mean? We're in the David Soslan situation. We're in the Raja Hiraja Chola situation. because we know that this is going down. This is the Pops, who's the father of Solomon, and Hanan, Jewish king of Tehama. I mean, any of these could be another name for Daniel, as far as we know. But he also has a David as a son, which means his dad must have been a David. If he's a David, Exilarch. All right, and you know, in the next drop, we're gonna really dig on these exilarchs, man, because it's a whole list of exilarchs. You know, you got the links, pull them up. Exilarchs. This list is an excerpt from this page with acknowledgement to the author, David Hughes. All right, well, peace to David Hughes for putting this together. This is no definitive list of exilarchs, but this one seems to at least have been the result of a great deal of work, and it does acknowledge gaps and uncertainties. So it's not perfect. It's not perfect. We're not using this as perfection. Especially we're not using these dates. Especially we're not using these dates as perfection. You know what I'm saying? But once we start getting into these 1200s, you get into this Samuel, this David, this Azariah, this David. This is a list of exilarchs, man. This ain't being taught in public school. These are the leaders during the captivity, man. During the Babylonian captivity, the Genghis Khan invasion. That's the only thing I can compare it even remotely to that would make sense. For King David to be taken out or taken down, the only story in history I can make sense with that leads with this Genghis Khan. More and more war popping off over, around the 1200s. So here we got a Hizdah here, right? Grandson of 54 via Joshua. Whoa, and then we got a Daniel. Look at this right here, man. Just pay attention to this area right here. Hizdah and Daniel. All right, this is around 1240, they say. Grandson of Shlomo. Shalom, 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 shalom. So David Hizdah. Where else do we see this David Hizdah scenario? David Hizdah. Let's go back to. Oh, this David is the father of Hizdah, or they call it Hasdah right here. Exilarch Hasdah the sixth of Babylon, estimated before 1302. They don't really have much information on this Hasdah past this point. Whoa, are we narrowing something down? Because now we're around the 1300s, Jack. Son of David. We're just trying to put the story back together. We're just trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together. Go back to the Exilarch list. Here we go. Even better. Even better. You got duplicates and phantoms. This is actually called Hasdah. All right, make sure you got it. Hasdah the sixth, right? Son of David. 1216. Son of 54, son of 56 children. It's a lot of babies. If that's what they mean. Wow, so we have a separate substantiating source of a list of exilarchs, all right, that links up with the Genie research page. A separate researcher. We're linking two different. This is real recon, man. Hold up, man, where we at? So we got this David and Hasdah. Let's narrow the search right here. This is an investigation. We're just talking to priest kings, right? David Hasdah here. Let's go back to the Genie. Let's bring it on over, actually. This Hasdah Again, has died the 6. Has died the 6. Are we going to get to Kublai Khan, Prester John, Ethiopia, and Eden? Don't even trip. Don't even trip, man. But we're just talking David. Say David the 8th or David the 6th. So they don't really know if he's the 8th or the 6th. David the 8th or David the 6th. But he's the father of Hasdai, the 5th or the 6th. And then Hasdai. Now, I don't want to make assumptions, you know what I'm saying? Just like the Templar says, left to Irvin Reed. Well, what we don't know, we don't know. So, I don't know if they're all just saying Solomon would be the son of Hasdai and Hisdai would be the son of Solomon. Not all these might be the sons. They might be their brothers that came into the Exilarch rulership, or they got the Khan after, it was passed to them. It could be sons, it could be nephews. I'm just saying this is all family. This is all family. And it's incredible to link this with the genie link, man. We got the David, the 6, Hasdai, the 6. Now let's see. Oh, they don't give us any recon, I don't think, on Hasdai's sons. Because I would love to see if he has a son named Solomon as well. But we do know he has a dad named David, who is also the 6. Right? Exilarch, David, the 6. Exilarch, David, the 6. Bang. Bang. That's a hard hit right there. That's a hard hit. They said estimated before 1302, and this says 1216. All right. That's before 1302, around that same range. Okay. All right. Now you keep looking down, then you run into a Daniel right here. Now, of course, I'm not saying again that this is in order of father, son, or son, son, son. It could read like this, that this Daniel, this Daniel could easily be the brother of Solomon like he is, you know what I'm saying, and has died. Could also be one of the sons, because Daniel's the son of 54. Solomon's the son of 61. One of those other children is Daniel. So, of course, that Exilarch, that Khan might be passed to his brothers, his nephew, you know what I mean? In this case, you have a Daniel right here that is rocking at the same time during his Babylonian exile. Again, back to Daniel chapter 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. And then he orders the family of the nobility, of the royal nobility, which is Daniel, because he's the son of David and brother of Solomon. And possibly has died too. I mean, it's 61 of them. It's 61 brothers. So he's one of them, but he's the second son. You know what I mean? And then you have another Daniel down here. You know what I mean? So you see these Daniels popping up as exilarchs. You got a Daniel popping up way up here. Nehemiah, you know what I mean? So you got these Daniels. Now, a lot of these are phantoms and duplicates, man. Shout out to Phineas, man. You even got Phineas rocking in 1341. Exilarchs, Hebrew, priest kings, free Phineas. So we're just putting the pieces back together, man. We're just trying to understand about this Babylon. And to really get into our consciousness that this is taking place at the same time, that this 2 Samuel business, is going down, you know what I mean, with this, it's all happening. Now I know it's like, well, What happened to all these kings in between King David and the Babylonian exile? I don't know. You tell me what happened to all these kings in between King David and the Babylonian exile. Perhaps all these kings are taking place during the Babylonian exile. Because wasn't the kingdom divided after Solomon? I mean, even with David, the kingdom got divided. Then he, roughed out the rough seas, right? But he, damn sure almost divided that kingdom up. And then Solomon, did the whole, going left into with other energies, So the kingdom was divided after Solomon. And if it was divided after Solomon, and Solomon is the younger brother of Daniel, then it would be divided. It would have been divided in the time of Daniel. And part of the division could be this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, or Genghis Khan. Now, would Genghis Khan be wise enough to spare some of the nobles and royals of David, of Prester, John? Let's read this as if we're just talking Genghis Khan. This is part of the investigation. We got to wear many hats, put shoes on different feet until we find the right foot. So, follow me now into this theory that King Nebuchadnezzar or Shalmaneser is Genghis Khan. Rolling up on priest King Prester John or King David, or at least on King Solomon, dividing up the kingdom. Or maybe after Solomon's death, when, did it get shifted to Daniel then? I mean, did Daniel have to drop on the fountain of youth too? Maybe Daniel had to drop on the fountain of youth too, I mean, all these things are in play. In the year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, Genghis Khan, king of the Tartars, king of Tartary, all right, king of Moab, came to Jerusalem and besieged it, came to America, came to Calalus and besieged it. And the Lord delivered into his hand Jehoiakim, king of Judah. Now, is this who was rocking after Solomon? After the days, after Solomon's death, was the kingdom divided? Now we got to get all that again, see what kind of phantoms and duplicates we can discover. But along with some of his articles from the house of Hawa, he carried these off to the lands of Shinar, to the house of his God. Could this be a Genghis Khan phantom and duplicate? All right, let's go. Now, again, if I'm tripping, then why, oh why? I just wanted to do this. I said, let me find, a pretty credible source about Daniel. We've used this site before. It's okay. And see if they mention King David. Let's go to folks that are well versed in recon, and let's see if they mention King David. I just want to see, because these are scholars, man. Let's go. Daniel, they put this little, timeline situation, 3304. I mean, that's just interesting. 3304 to 3399. Are they saying Daniel lived? But then they put this other timeline situation. So now it seems like, okay, you live, what's that, 100 years, something like that. Over here, he lived 395 years. That would mean he would have outlived King Solomon. Perhaps. perhaps. Outlived Solomon the sixth, possibly outlived his die, and then became Exilarch around this 1240 situation. Now remember, the Exilarchs are just rocking during Babylonian captivity. They're the head of the Jews, they say, right? They're the khans. These are the khans. Right? So, okay. Celebrated Jewish scholar, master, interpreter of dreams, exiled to Babylon after the destruction of the Holy Temple of Jerusalem. He is famous for successfully interpreting the proverbial writing on the wall and miraculously surviving the lion's den. His book is included in the canon of sacred Jewish writings. His book that never mentions he's the son of King David, nor did they mention King David. Early life, man. Let's talk about the early life of Daniel. Surely, oh, surely they'll mention here in the early life, he's the son, the second son of the most famous king in the history of Israel. Surely they'll mention, second son of David. Surely they'll mention David here. Let's go. The Chaldean king Nebuchadnezzar conquered the land of Judea in 3319 or 442. And destroyed the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, which was really in America. Let's go. As was the standard practice of invading rulers, Nebuchadnezzar or Genghis Khan deported the Jewish intelligentsia and forced them to relocate to Babylon. Deported the high-level intelligent Hebrews and forced them to relocate to Babylon. That reminds me of the forbidden histories of America. That reminds me of the forbidden histories of America. You know, the whole Sylvanus to Texas, how Theodorus, Amari went head up, you know what I'm saying, with either Sylvanus or the direct descendant of Sylvanus. Anyway, he reconquered, they say, America, Calalus. But, he didn't put these tribes here into captivity, you know what I mean? But he did relocate them back, they said, back to Europe. But when we talk about Russia possibly being the location of Babylon. Then you had the Russes, on both sides. And then you got this Genghis Khan who had done this, weaving into these, families already. So as it's being written, then he became, then the families that were sent from here were actually under protection of Theodorus and these Russes because they were all the same family at the end of the day. And you look at it with the Genghis Khan thing, he would do the same thing. He would take the children, all these tribes here, he would relocate them different places, but still put them under his protection from other forces and other energies that they had to protect us against. So he wouldn't just start chopping off heads and, throwing people in fires, you know what I'm saying? How they did us when they got here. It was a different type of invasion, a different time. But maybe they'll tell us a little bit about David. Nebuchadnezzar deported the Jewish intelligence, the royals, and forced them to relocate to Babylon. Among them were Daniel, Kanaiah, Mishael, and Azariah from the tribe of Judah. All right, so there were more than that, but these are a few from Judah. All extraordinary, gifted young princes selected to serve as chamberlains in the royal court under the tutelage of the chief officer Daniel. So Daniel was the chief officer. Exilarch, 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 Exilarch. David has died. Daniel, let's go. David, Hezdi, Daniel. Let's go. And just because I want to make sure we're on the same page. Let's get this one here. Atlantica. Get back into that forbidden histories right fast, man. Man, it's dope that you can Google Forbidden Histories of America PDF, and they're going to lead you right into our library, man. Love to tie Battle the Record Keeper, man. You just click on it, and you got it, man. Courtesy of the Drop Library, man. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. That feels good, man, when you put that work in and you see it reflected in the recon. You know, when folks is really on that recon, they run right into the lane, right into the flow, you know what I mean, that you've already put out. You know what I'm saying? All praise our creator. So it does feel good. That's what they can't take away, you know what I'm saying? Because we know what it is and we know what it ain't. And I just want to use this as a comparison to this Genghis Khan invasion. This Theodorus. Okay, let's get it from here. $775. All right, so keep in mind that this could be another one of those time shifts, and we could just be talking about the 1200s, which I think is really what's happening. I think it was dropped off again in 775. We're going to get that for the Manco documentary a little bit so you can see again how they dropped off your same history. They just did repeats and dropped them off in different places. One of the places is 75 AD, but I still think this might be really referring to the 1200s, 1300s. Especially with the recon coming out now. I mean, we got a Naaman David or Moses scenario, you know what I'm saying? Right up in the 1200s. All this is connected. 775, Nehemiah Theodorus reconquered. He did it again. The Ame'rican Empire of Calalus. We're in America. Calalus was ruled by Suleiman, also known as Toltec, Silvanus, the hereditary ruler of the former Hebrew Empire. Let's go. Skip all there, because we already know how to bob and weave. But I'm just kind of giving it to you straight up so I can break the spell with you. So you got Solomon here. He's the hereditary exilarch. All right. Calalus was founded in 1 century BC, all right, by the Babylonian exilarch known as Silvanus Ogam. Now you got the Ogam, Ogir, Ogam script. Silvanus Brabo, also known as Solomon. So not this Solomon was the one over here at 775, but it was this whole promised land situation, it says, was established by another Solomon, Solomon II, the Babylonian exilarch. During what? Babylonian captivity? Nebuchadnezzar? So all this was rocking simultaneously. There was a big war popping off, man. The Babylon situation was in full effect during at least the tail end of the King David's scenario. You know what I mean? While he's still living. While his second son Daniel is still living. Because Daniel was taken in to Genghis Khan or Nebuchadnezzar or Shalmaneser as a young boy or a young teen. And he's the second son of David, which means David must have been still alive. He's also known as Nasi of Mara, ruler of Sumer. All right. Had a fleet of trading vessels, ships are shaped like swans. Now listen, after the defeat of Sylvanus told Texas or Solomon. Same thing with the Genghis Khan scenario when he just, or they're reading about with Nebuchadnezzar, where he put the families over there in Babylon. He didn't kill them. He actually recruited the royals. He recruited the young man. And then you could read what happened next in Daniel. He got respect for him. He had respect for Daniel. Genghis Khan had respect for Daniel. That's why you can't really front on Genghis Khan too hard because, you know what I mean, it was a different type of invasion, man. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't really personal like that, but it was, but it wasn't, you know what I mean? So after the defeat of Solomon, the members of the royals, here we go again, royal family, were sent back to Europe. Now the other one said Babylon, right? Get that. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Oh, okay. I was reading out of here. All right. So Nebuchadnezzar deported the Hebrews. He sent them back. Now we're talking phantoms and duplicates. So in this case, this Theodorus, who definitely appeared to be of the same family as they're having this war popping off in the Forbidden Histories of America, because he's also in this Davidic line, but maybe he stole the title David because he says he and his brothers were great warrior Davidic princes of the time of Charlemagne. You got to surf the wave on all sides. So this Nehemiah, I mean, could this be Genghis Khan reconquering from Solomon? He wears the title Makir, but we also know that Makir is the son of Manasseh. So that name, that title already existed with Manasseh, the son of Manasseh. And he also wears these titles, man, David, Makir. Now again, after the defeat of Sylvanus Texas, the members of the royal family were sent back to Europe where they were under the protection of Nehemiah Theodorus and his family. Could this be another phantom and duplicate where Genghis Khan, came over here to America, sent the royals here that were already connected with the families there back over there, put them under protection of Gog, from Gog, Magog, and those other hijacks, because there was still much worse hijacks than Genghis Khan, trust me. So they still had to protect them. So in this, I'm just surfing the wave. In this theory, Nehemiah Theodoric 775 is really Genghis Khan happening in the 1200s, as well as Nebuchadnezzar. Remember, they changed the names of these kings. They changed the names. They dropped them off in different places. We'll get to Anatolia Flamenco Recon. It's all happening. As was standard practice of the invading rulers, Nebuchadnezzar, it was standard practice. It wasn't about slaughtering. It was just about conquering. All right, I got the land. Now I'm going to send y'all over to this stronghold here where I've already invaded. By that time, Russia, and the Hebrews over there was already, invaded by Genghis Khan, all right, by Moab. We'll get that again in Prester, China legend and sources. They say Genghis Khan became king of Moal. They spelled it Moal. All the same thing. Babylon. Babel. Remember Babel. We're just talking titles. Or Russia. Because when you talk Asia and China and Asia and Genghis Khan, Russia was the stronghold. Russia, the Russes. You know what I'm saying? These were all the Picts. These were all Nagas over there. So, yeah, wars going on there. Wars over here. There were 1452 or 92 expelling the Moors out of Spain, or the Hebrews as well out of Spain. All this was going down, man. That's 15th century. So the wars are going on there, and the wars are going on here. You have the Byzantine Empire being taken out in 1453. The Byzantium. All right, man. So standard practice of the invading rulers. Nebuchadnezzar deported the Hebrews and forced them to relocate to Babylon. Or after defeat of the Sylvanus Texas, the members of the royal family were sent back to Europe, where they were under protection of Nehemiah Theodorus and his family. However you want to look at it. Standard practice deported them back to Babylon. I'm tying this together because when they say sent back to Europe, Europe is connected with Russia, right? I mean, you know what I mean? So we're not stretching it. We're saying, yeah, Russia might be Babylon, and he might be sent back to Babylon, back to Russia under the protection of certain of the Russes that were at that time under the control of Genghis Khan, or, whatever you're talking about. Or was he under, he had power over the Rus family at that time? I mean, this is all happening, man. And the whole point is that you can keep reading it, but not one time do they mention he's the son of David. Talk about his interpreting dreams, charitable advice. I mean, even in the early life, they just started with Nebuchadnezzar. They just started with Nebuchadnezzar for his early life, you know what I'm saying? And then brought Daniel in with the other three, from the tribe of Judah as the gifted young princes. All right, so why, oh why? I mean, I got to say now, it seems like they're hiding something. If the book of Daniel never mentioned David, Daniel's the son of King David, nor does this, very learned website, kabag.org, doesn't mention Daniel being the son of David, it might be counted as being hidden. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Now, when you look specifically, Daniel, biblical figure. Now I'm just looking at Wikipedia. I'm like, all right, who's Daniel? What if I did want to know who Daniel is? What if I did want to know? Do they give the drop up if you look deep enough? Or maybe they do. Let's go. All right, Daniel, meaning God is my judge, hero of the biblical book of Daniel, noble Jewish young of Jerusalem, is taken into captivity by Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, Exilarch, and serves the king and his successors with loyalty and ability until the time of the Persian conqueror Cyrus. Who's that? Who's that really? All of while remaining true to the God of Israel. Remember, Cyrus was actually cool. You know what I mean? He actually was kind of cool, right? He actually got cool with the Most High. This Persian emperor got cool with the Most High for a second. So 6 cities claim the tomb of Daniel, the most famous being Susa. Remember all this Susa drop with Prester John? Now you can connect it. That's his son. That's Prester John's second son. They say in Iran, okay. Shusha, Daniel. There's a lot to dig on with this Daniel. Any mention of David? Well, the interesting thing is when you get down here, let's see it. When you start digging, far enough, who knows what's been right under your face bone You just gotta want it, man. Tales of Daniel. All right, we went into that hotel. All right. Meshach, Abednego, Shadrach. Rabbinic sources suppose that he was alive during the reign of the Persian king Ahasuerus, better known as Artaxerxes. So this is connected with the Book of Esther, Mordecai. Damn. If he was alive during that time, then when did this Mordecai business pop off? More Babylonian exile, right? More exilarchs. You got to pull this stuff together, put it in its right time frame. Uh-huh. Ectabana, Parthia, okay. My point is, I'm digging, and if it does mention it, it mentions it way deep into the dig about him being the son of David. And you got Christianity, Islam. I mean, come on, man. All right. Now keep this Susanna in mind, because we're going to mention this Susanna in a minute. Bell and the Dragon, all right, all the apocryphal work. All right. So we got his background, and they didn't mention David, right? Can we say by now, even when we just wiki? So you can't even just wiki Daniel and get the drop about him being the son of David. Unless you Wikipedia his actual name. Where's the Jesse drop? Jesse's father of David, Yeshai, or Isai. Uh-oh. He is a sinless man. He is one of 4 sinless men. Later, traditions name him as one of 4 ancient Israelites who died without sin. The other 3 being Benjamin, Kiliab, and Amram, who's the father of Moshe. Kiliab is also Daniel. And that's when we got it. It was right there, man. He was the second son of David, king of Israel. He was David's son with his 3rd wife, Abigail. So you telling me, I done went to the book of Daniel and they didn't mention him being the son of David. I went to respectable historic websites and they didn't mention him being the son of David. I even Wikipedia Daniel and they never mentioned him being the son of David. That's because certain paths are for the learned ones. And we didn't get this drop until we researched Jesse. Found the 4 sinless men drop. Saw Kiliab and said, well, who's that? Oh, Daniel. Oh, okay. And not only was Daniel a sinless man, he's the second son of David, king of Israel. Wow. That's when we said, wow. It's right there. Now, did they give us a lot? No, they didn't give us a lot. But is it there? It's right there. Now, Kiliab or Daniel is also known as Daluya. That's another name to recon to get more drop, as mentioned in the Septuagint. But right there, we got Kiliab known as Daniel, son of David, king of Israel. Unlike the other of David's 3 elder sons, Amnon, Absalom, remember that's who went to war against his pops, Adonijah, who were important characters in 2 Samuel. Kiliab is only named in the list of David's sons, and no further mention is made of him. Here it says Gilead is mentioned in 1 Chronicles 3:1 and Samuel 3:3. Well, let's go there. 1 Chronicles 3:1. We're just digging on Daniel. I mean, this is all the Prester investigation, man. This is all it's all happening, man. It's all being put together. You know what I mean? It's the best way I can say it. It's all happening, man. 1 Chronicles 3:1, descendants of David. These were the sons of David who were born to him in Hebron. The firstborn was Amnon. The second was Daniel. Born right there in Hebron. Today they just call it Chevron. You might have a Chevron gas station near you. It's just Hebron. Bang. Got it. Now, how many times have you glossed over this and you said, okay, Daniel, did you know that this Daniel is, the same Daniel of the Babylonian captivity, the exile? And if this is going on, man, and he's the second son of King David, where does this place King David? Keep this in mind, man. We're just surfing away. That means it's all happening. The Babylonian exile, Nebuchadnezzar, it's all happening. You got to now put it with this King David, and the only thing that makes sense is the Prester John investigation. To where you have a David and a Babylon war, a Genghis Khan scenario, a place called Babylon like Russia that is also called Asia, that's also linked with China and that Genghis Khan. Now you're back. But you see the skimmed version they give you, the inverted version they give you, and when you start digging on it, even when you get smart and you say, well, let me check. You're not going to get the mention of it, but you got to know what script to go to, and it's only two that even mention it. So it's very easy to gloss over. So you might have been at the drop, man. You got the drop. But did you know what it means to have the drop? If you knew that Daniel was the son of David, do you know what that means to the timelines? Do you know what that means? Where this Babylonian Nebuchadnezzar captivity is really being placed, and what that means to your true, real spill history going down? And why would they hide it? Because you can't tell me they ain't hiding it. Well, they never mention him being the son of David. Not even in the book of Daniel does it mention him being the son of David. Only two places are going to mention it. 1 Chronicles and 2 Samuel. The book of Daniel is not going to mention it. Unlike his other more popular sons who were important characters, Daniel's not an important character. That's all they're really saying. Unlike Amnon, Absalom, and Adonijah, who were important characters in 2 Samuel, Daniel, Gilead, is only named in the list of David's sons, and no further mention is made of him. What are you hiding? You're still not giving me nothing. Because then you just go to him being a sinless man. Though being the second son, Gilead was not a contender for the throne of Israel. Why not? Why wasn't his second son older than Samuel or Solomon? Why wasn't he a contender for the Khan? Why not? Even after the death of the firstborn Amnon, the thirdborn Absalom. So you see how the Exilarch was passed from brother to brother, not necessarily father to son. Huh? So when you're looking at this, some of these are brothers that is being passed, especially when you get down to this his died Solomon, his died Daniel situation, who's one of 61. So how many brothers? But he wasn't, they said originally, a contender for the throne. Even after the death of Amnon, the thirdborn Absalom, remember what happened with Absalom? All right. And fourthborn Adonijah. He may have died before his father. Daniel may have died before David, so David was still alive during this whole Babylonian Nebuchadnezzar business, which doesn't match up when you try to put it in the, Christianized, Scaliger Batavia's history. But it does match up when you get your timeline back and you put the Babylon where the Babylon is in this whole, medieval dark ages period back into being light ages, not dark ages, light ages. Because these are the years, man, that they're talking about. This is the years during this Babylonian captivity. This is the years of your exilarchs. This is the years of your rulership here and there. Your revolts, your rebellions. He may have died before his father. Later rabbinic traditions name him as one of 4 ancient Israelites who died without sin. So when you got this super naga over there in the New Testament, right? This black Christ, he's a combination of this Daniel, who was a what? Son of David, son of David, son of David. How many times is Jesus being called the son of David? He's a son of David, son of David. Why? Because he's based on sons of David without sin. Did you know that David had other sons without sin other than this Jesus that's coming through? And his dad, Jesse is also without sin. This is a lineage, of righteous men. This is a lineage of righteous seeds. That's all we get. That's all we're going to get. Now check this out. According to Rashi, Rabbi Isaac said that some question whether Abigail was pregnant through David or her first husband. So they I guess were accusing her of maybe being with another man. So they didn't know if that seed was really David. So what did Hawa do? Therefore, Hawa arranged that Daniel would resemble David. It is possible his name Kiliab, which can be translated perfection of the father, is a reference to or cause of that legend. So Daniel was a perfection of David. He resembled him. David was a righteous man, which is why he was named priest Khan to begin with. You know what I mean? When you're the son of a sinless man, and when you pretty much live a sinless life, except for, that major, L he had to take. But, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and then his son, not all of them, but this particular son also lived a sinless life. He's a perfection of his father, who's a perfection of his father. Perfection of the father. Did you know that Daniel, who Nebuchadnezzar took in, was a perfect resemblance of King David? And Hawa made it so just to quiet the noise of David, or Daniel not being truly a son of David. He made Daniel, God arranged that Kiliab would resemble David. So he probably resembled him in countenance. He probably resembled him, physically, outwardly, inwardly. Which means that he resembled Jesse, who is a sinless man, right? Jesse. Let's go. I mean, this is unbelievable, man. Put it all together. Let's get to the timeline business. Let's go. All right. So yeah, now you can look for I had to specifically search Daniel is David's son. I had to say that specifically to get some drop. All right. So then we got, of course, second son of David. Parents, David, Abigail. Now you can get the drop. All right. It's only mentioned in Chronicles and Samuel. Right. Let's check out, was it 2 Samuel 3? It's only mentioned twice, right? 2 Samuel 3 and 3. Let's get that. Loud wah for the clarity. His second wife was Kili. His second was Kiliab. So his firstborn, Amnon. His second is Kiliab. All right. And that's all they're going to say. That's all they're going to say. And that's what it said here. It said, it's mentioned, unlike his more important brothers. Daniel was only named on the list of David's sons, and no further mention is made of him. No mas, man. So that's why we can, look up all this stuff, and they don't mention King David at all, man. All right. They don't even mention King David when you Google Daniel. Letting you know, you got to be of a certain vein. You got to be digging a certain line. All right. This is a nice little link for you to dig on date and authorship of the Book of Daniel. And then, this is when, they're digging on the apocryphal work. They're trying to put it in different places in the timelines. Is it not strange that Daniel does not mention such heroes as Matthias, or Judas Maccabeus? I mean, yeah, now that you know that it's all happening, it's all the same thing. Liberals are called on the carpet also because they seem to overlook the relationship between the man Daniel and the current administration, whether Babylonian or Persian. Nebuchadnezzar and Darius appeared to have respected Daniel. They had to. They had to. I mean, this is, this is some nice deep waters for you to dig on. I'm just surfing the wave right now. Book of Daniel has at least a few words from 4 different languages: Persian, Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic. All right. Going to the Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay. I'm just digging on this. I didn't really check this link out yet. So I'll just leave it for you to dig on. Hold up, man. Hold up. All right, there we go. All right, so we got Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem, besieged it. This appears to contradict Jeremiah 46:2 to Egypt concerning the army of Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, which was by the Euphrates River, which Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, defeated in the 4th year of Jehoiakim. All right, so that says 4th year. Nebuchadnezzar invaded both Carchemish and Jerusalem in the same year. Yet Jeremiah makes it clear that 605 was Jehoiakim's 4th year, whereas Daniel says it was Jehoiakim's 3rd year. The difference has to do with the methods Jeremiah and Daniel employed in counting the number of years. I mean, it's a lot of things. I mean, it's some good, you go and dig on it. You go dig on it, man. there goes something else I wanted to point out. Okay, yeah, right, yeah. That's what I wanted. Daniel and Ezekiel, okay. All right, I'm just looking at this other drop, man. It's amazing. All right, so the prophet Ezekiel mentions Daniel 3 times. Okay. All right, let's keep digging because we know he's only mentioned twice in terms of being the son of David. Now, how does Ezekiel mention? And this is, I got that drop in front of me. There we go. Okay. So let's dig on it. Ezekiel, what's that, 14:14? All right. Wow. What's it saying? 14:14, Ezekiel. Let's get it from 12. And the word of Papal came to me saying, Son of man, if a land sins against me by acting unfaithfully, and I stretch out my hand against it to cut off its supply of bread, to send famine upon it, and to cut off from it both man and beast, then even if these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, love to the Templar who's connecting, these trifectas, this beautiful melody, man, this harmony that's going on. All right, so Noah, Daniel, and Job were in it. So even if these three men, so the Most High let you know, man, it's about to go down. Nothing would be able to save. If the land sins against me, and I stretch out my hand against it to cut off its supply of bread, to send a famine upon it, even if these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it, their righteousness could deliver only themselves, declares Ahchwa. Letting you know that not only are there four righteous men, there's at least six, because you also got Noah, who's being called, righteous, right? And then you got Job, who's righteous. You know what I mean? So were they also without blemish, without sin? I mean, that's what it looks like. So even if this sinless man Daniel was in it, so then you got 14 and 20 where it mentions it again. Even if Noah, Daniel, and Job were in it, they cannot deliver neither son nor daughter. I mean, that's how deep the wrath goes, man, of the get back of the Most High when it comes to the unrighteous. You know what I mean? The sin, the transgression, the breaking the codes. And we're just talking about who's writing the codes. We're just talking about Anam and David writing the code. And we'll pick that up on the Prester John, the next one, man. So don't even trip, man. So, we just surfing the wave and the priest king. We just surfing the flow, Part of this David flow, David frequency, Prester frequency is connecting these exilarchs, connecting these exiles. Therefore, we can connect our timeline and we can break our spell. We're in a specific investigation around here. We're digging on it in real time. We digging on it, man. We on their ass, man. We on their ass, Prester John. We on their ass, Prester John. All right. Okay. So you get more out of that, you got this Ezekiel Daniel connection. All right. I mean, again, the question then becomes, when was the book of Ezekiel written? We bringing a lot of light, a lot of heat on the son of David, the son of David, the son of David, that is Daniel. We're talking Babylonian exile. So when was the book of Ezekiel written? because Ezekiel's mentioning Daniel, which means it has to be going on after Daniel, after Daniel's righteousness, right? It has to be already an example of Daniel's righteousness. It has to be already an example of Noah, so we know that we can dig that Ezekiel is happening after Noah. That makes sense. Job was one of the very first books, if not the oldest book, damn near, you know what I mean? So, we know we can dig that. We can connect all that. And now we also have Daniel. Now, where does this Daniel fit in? Because wherever it fits in, Ezekiel's happening after that. Let's go. We're just talking Anatoly Flamenco, Chronology. Pull up the link. Let's get a little more for the dismount. The book of Daniel tells us the story of Esther in Russia. Horde. Remember, horde is order. Horde is order. Russia order. Rus. Rus is the Rus, the clan Ross. Jerusalem. You know what the Ruses look like. I don't have to show you again. But we're talking about what? The 16th century. The 16th century. The 16th century. 16th century. Did a black man discover the fountain of youth? 16th century. Lebna. 1508 is the 16th century. Right. Prester John Negus, King of Kings. My nigga, my naga, my negus. You my nigga, right? You my naga, right? You my negus. All right, Grandma. Oh, y'all boys, stop saying that word nigga. Nigga is negus. Body bag. Let's go. So when was Daniel written? So then we know when Ezekiel was written after that. And we also can correlate that this Daniel situation is happening at the same time that King David is still alive or Prester John is still alive. Because another source we just read said David might have outlived Daniel. We're talking exilarchs. Apparently the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar or Genghis Khan, under which the prophet Daniel is acting, is the Tsar Khan Ivan IV the Terrible. So according to this research by Flamenco, he's linking, these phantoms and duplicates, and it seems to link right directly into this Ivan the Terrible scenario. Is that another name for Genghis Khan? Ivan the Terrible. Thus, the book of Daniel gives us an account. Remember, we're just talking to 16. We're just talking to 1500s now. So we went from, Theodorus in the 700s, 775. All right, this whole situation with Solomon. We already know about the Anam ben David, whole drop. We'll get back on this, man, in the next installment. I just had to, we're going to get back on the Ananites and all this, man. Antioch, Quivera, Finished watching the documentary we were watching. I just had to kind of, sidestep into this Daniel because we're just talking to Babylonian exile. Anam ben David, head of the Jews during the Babylonian exile. Exilarch. David, Exilarch, 700s, Exilarch. Back to the Exilarch list. You're going to hit the Davids up, the Exilarchs. Anam ben David, let's go. Founder of the Ananites, Israelites. Still existing Kara, Katai, Cathay. I hope we get time to get to this doc. that talks about finding a fountain of youth from Florida to Cathay, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't even make sense unless you're putting it together on a real map and a real timeline. But these are the head of the Jews, right? That's what an exilarch is, office of the exilarch. Didn't we just read that he's the chief officer? Under the tutelage of the chief officer Daniel. Officer, chief, exilarch, chief. But you don't read, no one tells you that Daniel's an exilarch. He would have to be a Khan to be an exilarch. He would have to be the son of David. Son of David, which is why they made the Jesus character son of David, because that's the only way to validate him is to be a son of David. So how can you front on David when he got the fountain, one shepherd forever, Ezekiel 34, Ezekiel 37, Jeremiah 9, read it, dig on it, Hosea 3 and 5, read it, dig on it. Now dig deeper into David, dig deeper into Daniel, dig deeper into the Babylonian exilarch. Dig deeper into the Davids and the exilarchs of Babylon and Georgia. By the way, did you ever hear about Rome? Rome, Georgia? R-O-M-E, Rome, Georgia? Oh boy, but let's go. Let's go, man. We're just talking 1600s or 1500s. Famous sonic, let's get it. The metropoly of empire, the famous sun eclipse described in the book of Daniel, which rang the death knell for Belshazzar or Belhazar, the king of Babylon, or Nebuchadnezzar, right, is a comet appearing before Ivan the Terrible's death in 1584. Are we talking dragons again? Do I have to go into the comet, meteor, dragon, Prester? Let's go. It appears that all the paintings, frescoes, miniature pictures of the subject of the book of Daniel were created not earlier than the second half of the 16th century. Body bag, Daniel. Daniel, body bag for the illusion. You know, that's why I say that, man. Really, I got that from the Karate Kid. You know, I remember when you know what I'm saying, dude got kicked, and he said, body bag, that's body bag, Daniel. But look how it applies. Body bag, Daniel. Daniel is killing them off right there, man. Damn, man, the famous writing on the wall, first of all, again. So Belshazzar, Nebuchadnezzar, the king Genghis Khan, king of Babylon. All right, so this famous eclipse is nothing but a dragon, meteor, cometa, dragon, appearing before Ivan the Terrible's death, 1584. It appears that all the paintings, frescoes, pictures on the subject of the book of Daniel were created not earlier than the second half of the 16th century. Here, for example, Hartmann Schadell's World Chronicle, allegedly of 1493. In it, we see three Jewish youths burning in the furnace and the prophet Daniel on the reverse side, meaning that the Chronicle was not written until 16th century. Where's my flashlight? So this Michel Abednego, situation, burning in the furnace, Hartmann Schadell's World Chronicle, 1493. This was all created after, way after what they are allegedly giving us as a Scaliger and Batavia's timeline. This is happening recently. The famous writing on the wall cited in the book of Daniel, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin, ringing the death knell for Belshazzar, is, or Shalmaneser, right? Or Nebuchadnezzar, or Changus. Let's go. It's probably a distorted Slavonic expression. You read it, Perusium. The main word here is Zenamini, meaning son of things to come. Portent in Russia, Mene, like Menelek, right? The word Z and M differ only in the line placement. Mene. Oh man, okay. All right. The portent comet was burning and appeared. Remember we looked in the Russian Doll's dictionary on the comet, and all you got is kometa, and it said a star with a tail, bearded with tangled locks. All this Russian drop is all connected. Portent comet was burning and appeared to the Russians. There survived some depictions where the sign is reproduced in short form, mene. Yeah, man. There's a lot to dig on with this. Tsar Khan. Cause you just talking who? Genghis Khan. We're talking Ivan the Terrible. Huh? The Russian Horde dynasty, or the Order dynasty, is being cut down at the grassroots. In Europe, Asia, Africa, South, and North America. Ferocious internecine feuds flare up between imperial governors and between the fragments of Mongolia, the great ones. Prester John Genghis Khan. The Book of Judith recounts the same events, but through the eyes of the Western Mongol governors. The punitive troops, the Assyrian king led by Holofernes, invade the West in order to quell the unrest. The Jewess, by the name of Judith, arrives to the Assyrian camp. She penetrates Holofernes' tent, and having put him off his guard by deceit, decapitates him. The Assyrian army is demoralized and defeated. Wow. Line it up, because we're just talking about the book of Esther, man. It says the book of Esther is an intercourt one, and the book of Judith is a military one. We're talking about the same thing. Esther, Judith, what else? What else, man? The book of Daniel also describes the story of Esther as a story of Susanna. So Esther, Susanna, Judith, all they're doing is changing names. Same person. Same time frame, at least. Roughly speaking, we could say that the book of Daniel is an ecclesiastic one, the book of Esther is an intercourt one, and the book of Judith is a military one. They highlight the same exceptionally important event from different points of view. So it's rocking at least it's rocking at the same time. It appears that under the name of Daniel, he is presented Daniel, metropolitan of Moscow and all of Russia. Rus. Understandably, the book of the Old Testament pays attention to the head of the Russian Orthodox Church. Again, not mentioning he's the son of David, right? So what does that mean about Prester John? As the basis of the events lay, the religious church conflict, the role of women heretic was muffled. All right. One of the most famous stories about the book of Daniel is attempted to burn these three Jewish Hebrews, all right, Judah, in the fiery furnace by the Babylonians. What event in Russian history can this refer to? Apparently, this refers to three main heretics burnt in a cage in Moscow in the epic of fight against heresy of the Judaizers. These events of the 16th century, with the shift of approximately 100 years, are artificially spread thinly along the entire 16th century and even made it into the end of the 15th century. The burning of specifically three people, and specifically in a furnace for their faith under Ivan the Terrible, is among most famous events in Russian history of the 15th to 16th century. Man. All right, man. So we got a lot more to dig on. When we got to get back into the story of Susanna, Esther, or Elena Voloshanka, or Elena. I mean, they just breaking it down. You know, could be something, could be nothing. Chew the meat, spit the bones, man. But it appears to be some recon talking about these phantoms and these duplicates. And again, they're looking for Prester John for how many years? All during this Babylonian exile. And what does that mean about this Columbus drop? I mean, how you had that and then some Columbus Christian thing, you know what I mean? Like, we got to see reality. And I think we're breaking the spell into what really wrote up on us in this 1452, 1492 scenario. You're just talking Ethiopia, which means you're just talking Prester John, which means you're just talking Abyssinian or mixed multitude, which means you're just talking the immortal cause, promised land. This is, let's get 1 minute from this Anatoly Fomenko documentary as we head into the dismount, man. Shalom to the home team.
В Европе в 15 веке. Но дело в том, что
the authors of these chronicles were living not only in different countries, but even in different languages. They spoke and wrote different languages, and used different calendars.
Авторы этих летописей жили не только в разных странах, но даже в разное время. Они говорили и писали на разных языках, использовали разные летоисчисления. Неудивительно, что рассказы...
Not surprisingly, in telling of the same king, city, or battle, they gave them totally different names. Ivan the Terrible, Shalmaneser, Belshazzar, Nebuchadnezzar, Genghis Khan, Tagru, King David. Remember, he called himself David too. Didn't Charlemagne call himself David too? And wasn't Theodorus rocking at the same time as Charlemagne? Phantoms and duplicates, same king, city, or battle, but they put them in different places with different names. Watch, man, watch, man.
Об одном и том же короле, городе или сражении, они давали им совершенно разные названия. Поэтому, когда хронисты 16-17...
Before when Chronicles wrote in the 1500s and 1600s, read these records, they decided they were talking about 4 different eras.
прочитали эти летописи.
They're acting like they did on accident, but we know this shit was well systematic, you know what I'm saying? Systematically orchestrated to hijack your entire soul, man.
Решили, что речь идет о 4 совершенно разных эпохах. И вместо того, чтобы поместить эти летописи на оси времени...
Instead of putting these accounts simultaneously on the same time axis, they arranged them in sequence, that is, one after another. So you got stuff popping off in the 700s with Theodorus, Sylvanus, Texas. You know what I mean? You got stuff popping off way up in the, 12, 14, 1500s. You got stuff popping off in the BCs. King David, Daniel of the BCs. Let's go.
Одну над другой, они расположили их последовательно, то есть друг за другом.
They left one chronicle, one little piggy went to the market. One little piggy stayed home. You know what I'm talking about. They left one chronicle in the 1400s. This is what we're digging on. All right. Oh, what's happening in this 92, 52? What's all this going on? What's up with this medieval stuff? These dark ages. A second with the same history, the same king, different titles, different names, different places. They push back 300 years. And the third, they push back 1,000 years. And a fourth, they push back 1,800 years. So that's at least 4 time shift. They left one here. Push one back 300 years, push another back 1,000 years, and push another back 1,800 years. How'd you get to the BCs, Drop? How'd you get to the BCs? Because they went back another 1,800 years. That's how. That's what they saying. Look how they dropped your history off.
Ну, летопись они оставили в 15 веке, вторую отодвинули назад на 300 лет, третью назад на 1000 лет, а четвертую на 1800 лет.
Look, they're in the BCs now, man. They're in the BCs now.
Одну летопись они оставили.
They weren't always in the BCs, man. They had to go back all these years to get there. 3 time shifts. So this is what we're digging on. This is what we're reading about. These time shifts. Why?
Оставили в 15 веке, вторую отодвинули назад на 300 лет, третью назад на 1000 лет, а четвертую на 1800 лет. Соединили их вместе и получилось...
See how now you're counting the other way? Now you're in the BCs, and it says what? Put them all together. It says put them all together, and you got very long history, but it's not really that long. So we're picking up all these Babylonian exiles and exilarchs. We're picking up all these Prester Johns and Davids. We're picking up all these Genghis Khans and Shalmaneser's and Belshazzar's, right? This Ivan the Terribles, this Russia. We're just talking Babylon, right? We're just talking Babylon, right?
Только с помощью метода статистики.
Flamenco, man. Shout out to Flamenco for the recon, man. Only with the help of mathematical statistics can we have a truly objective analysis of old texts. Without them, unfortunately, it is impossible to construct a chronology, man. So don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype of the chronology. They're saying they're trying to force on reality. And in this drop, I believe it goes into, basically a Russia-Babylonian comparison. Basically calling Russia Babylon. You know what I mean? So you can dig further on it. But, hey. Underground Moscow of the 16th century is the famous Egyptian labyrinth described by ancient Herodotus and Strabo. We're talking Babylon, right? Tower of Babel, right? The biblical legend about the construction of the Tower of Babel is known to everyone and is dated by the historians in the deepest antiquity. In the books, this is his other volumes, his other chronicles. We point out that the medieval events are partial reflection of the legend, and the medieval events are partial, reflected in the legend. Medieval times, back to the 1200s, 1300s, 1400s. The book of Genesis is intertwined into one knot. Firstly, there is the Trojan War of the 7th century. Second, there is a reminiscent of the Mongol conquest of the world in the 16th or the 14th century. Mongol conquest in the 14th century. Mongol conquest in the 14th century. But they just found you in the 1400s, right? And the second Ottoman conquest of the Promised Land of the 14th century. Conquest of the Promised Land. Come on, man. Thirdly, there are events of the Reformation, 1600s to 1700s, and the times and troubles of Russia and the split of the Mongol Empire, or the split of Judah. In the Scalingarian history in the 18th-19th century, the biblical Babel was lost. They write the following: in the beginning of the 10th century, to the Arabic geographer, Babylon was known just as a small settlement which emerged in place of the one magnificent capital. For the scholars, Babylon became merely a name, some kind of symbol, the location of which they apparently had the vaguest idea about. They had no idea. So don't tell me where Babylon is when it's the vaguest idea. It had the vaguest idea. For the scholars, Babylon became merely a name, some kind of symbol, the location of which apparently they had the vaguest idea. In the new chronology, having identified the biblical Tower of Babel with the Cheops Pyramid in Egypt and Moscow Labyrinth, we present the largest construction of the Middle Ages which exists today. Of course, they are partially damaged. So yeah, we're just taking it all home. We're just taking it all home. Now we can connect these Ruses and these Picts in this area that was invaded and conquered by Shalmaneser or Nebuchadnezzar over there in Asia, or that part of Russia, which is all Hebrew lands. All right. 3 Indias, same David ruling 3 Indias. You dig? 3 Indias, man. What else we got for the dismount here, man? What else we got for the dismount? Oh, man. Kublai Khan, Prester John, Ethiopia, and Eden. I mean, this is some pretty dope job. I'm going to get a piece of it, as a very interesting poem, I think, from they say it was Kublai Khan's poem. Prester John is the name of the mystical priest king, dodged that Christian hijack, as you already know, of the vast empire of Central Asia. What's that? We're talking Russia, right? So it takes us right back over there, because we know that's one of the places he was ruling, right? But we also know he's planted right here in the Americas, and later in Ethiopia, which is right here in the Americas. His first appearance in historical documents is the Chronicle of Otto of Friesingen, who heard of this powerful sovereign reigning in the East, 1145. All right, so we're just talking about his so-called black priest king, right? Who they're looking for, who the Crusades are about. It was rather obvious development that the Indian Prester John, all right, the Indian Prester John of former legends should become identified with the Emperor of Ethiopia. India and Ethiopia were often confused. So when you talk Prester John, Emperor of Ethiopia, you're also talking Emperor of the Indias or the Indies. All 3 of them. And we got that last time in Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. We know we're talking about the 3 Indias. 3 Indias, right? 3 Indias. See if I can get this quickly here. Belly flop, belly flop. Because we're all just talking about this priest king, and I mean, most educated Europeans consider Prester John to be black. How come we're not taught about this black man in black history, right? It's also hidden, like Daniel's connection with David is hidden. And it's 3 Indias, it's disguised. And you say, oh, it's the West Indies. No, it's the Indias. It's the West Indias. And just like they said that term is vague, it says the same thing here. From India unto Ethiopia. In Greek and Roman authors, this is a similar vagueness about a vast region taken in by terms like India and Ethiopia. Similar vagueness taken in about this vast region of dark-skinned people, right? We have 3 Indias, one facing Ethiopia or Africa, the other facing Persia, they're saying, and the third occupied the ends of the earth between the oceans and the realm of darkness. The third became especially fruitful for the geographic imagination Talking about the region of untold islands, in which the plural term Indias is etymologically one and the same as Indies. We're talking 3 Indias. For most Europeans, even the smart ones, even the learned ones, the term covered a vast and distant region of dark-skinned people. Whether you're talking Indias, whether you're talking Indies, you're only talking about a region. Again, India and Ethiopia are often confused. We're only talking America and the 3 Indias connected to it, which connects into Asia. We already know because the maps tell us so. So, we got that Prester John map where Prester John's rocking right there in North America. On the other side of this would be that connection with this Bering Strait or the Anion, right? Over here, you got this Greenland and it goes right into Russia. You got Mongol right here, right? So this is just what you're talking about. Prester John is ruling 3 Indias, man. Whether you're talking this Asia situation, this Africa situation, or this America situation, you're talking about the world. Wong Kong, Prester John, Lebna was ruler of the world. King David was the ruler of the world. He was the head, not the tail. Now we became the tail, but we used to be the head. That's why we search for our creator and David, because this is the keys to it all. It's the keys to ruling it all. It's the keys to all the vortexes. It's the keys to you being established on earth, everywhere the wind blows. You got the keys. You got the keys. David got the keys. One shepherd forever. I will raise one shepherd over you. And he's going to hold it down, right? He's going to hold it down. All right, perfect. Just checking this out. So you got India, you got Ethiopia. Until the Renaissance, it was believed that only a narrow strait, a narrow strait, what does that remind you of? El Cabo de Diab, according to Frere, Morrow, cartographer of Venice, separated Ethiopia from the Indian subcontinent. Only a narrow strait. Only a narrow strait. You mean like, I don't know, like the strait of, like the mythical strait of Anion, man? I mean, are we just talking Anion, man? Only a narrow strait. Only a narrow strait. Hold up, man. Let's get this dismount right, man. We just surfing the wave, man. Seeking our creator and David. You know, to seek David is also to seek the sons of David, because they are also Davids. They are David by inheritance, by function, by exilarch function. Oh, is that it? Come on, man. Let's go. Let's go. Give me that. Give me that. Give me that. Give me that. Only a narrow strait separates India from Ethiopia. Well, if Benjamin Franklin says that Asia is wholly swarthy and America's wholly swarthy, and it's just a vast region of dark people, this Ethiopia, India business, right? One more time. But for most Europeans, even learned one, the term covered a vast and distant region of dark-skinned people. What term? India. And we just read right here that India and Ethiopian were often confused. Why? Because they both only were talking with similar vagueness about a vast region of dark-skinned people. One region of dark-skinned people, another region of dark-skinned people. Dark skin here, dark skin here, dark skin here, dark skin here. And again, one of these documents, we'll get it if you haven't got it yet, is literally saying that this fountain of youth, they were looking for it from Florida. They said from Florida to Cathay. You see Cathay right here. So Florida would be around here. So all this area is, fair game for this fountain of youth situation. So only a narrow strait, or like it says here, we're just talking the Strait of Anian, or the Bering Strait, or this connection right here, separated one India from another India, right? Or Ethiopia from India. So don't get confused about their cartography today. You know what I'm saying? One Ethiopia and another Ethiopia. One India from another India. One Ethiopia from another India. It's all the same thing. One area of dark-skinned people from another area of dark-skinned people. Only a narrow strait separated one area of dark-skinned people from another area of dark-skinned people. One group of Khans from another group of Khans. Now compare that with the boundary situation, with the Arnon situation, right? And how Arnon, this river, was the boundary of these Amorites and these Moabs or Moabites. So you got these other Indians that are separated from this boundary that separate the promised land, the real promised land, the India superior, the superior India was separated by the boundary of these narrow straits, right? These straits of Arnon or Anan, this Anian kingdom. Straits of Anan. India and Ethiopia were often confused. It was believed that only a narrow strait separated one group of Nagas from another, the Ethiopia from the Indian subcontinent. All right, but we just learned that they're both confused. All right. And we also just learned that three Indias is what we're talking about. And we know that only the term only covered a vast and distant region of dark-skinned people, culminating in countless array of islands in one direction. That's the Americas, and in Ethiopia, the biblical Kush in the other. All right, so you dig on it. Let's get a little bit more. And we're going to get into that one another time, I think. We're just going back into that Quetzalcoatl. And again, just put it together. We got Anab and David, this Moshe situation popping up. You got this Joshua. who's being compared with Quetzalcoatl in the Book of the Beginnings, connected with the Toltec mythology, or the Sylvanus Toltec's mythology, or the Sylvanus Toltec's foundation, which connects to the Quetzalcoatl Foundation, conducted their people through the pilgrimage and wanderings, recorded in picture writings. Who would mock like Moses wrote the code? Moses wrote the code. Moses wrote the code. And that's when we got last time about Anan ben David. Anan ben David, Exilarch, he did what? 770, Anan wrote the code of his order, the Sefer HaMitzvah. That's when we connected with Moses. Moses wrote the code. Moses wrote the code, right? We're going to get, which one? Oh, yeah, let's get this one. No, let's get that one later. Let's get that one later. Moses wrote the code. This out the book Medieval Philosophy from 500 CE to 1500 CE. Now you got this same code. Someone else is writing it. He wrote 2 other works in Jewish law, the Sefer HaMitzvah, right? Same book. The same book. Book of Precepts, Sefer HaMitzvah here. Sefer HaMitzvah here. Book of Precepts here. Book of Precepts here. Except this is not written by Anan ben David. This is written by none other than the Maimonides or Moses. Huh? Yeah, man. We're talking Moses Maimonides, and we're going to get deeper into that one in the next installment. I just want to let you know, this one's popping off. They said he died at 1204. 1204, he wrote the code. Remember? Same code. Except here it's 770. Dropping off in different time. We caught him slipping. So Anan ben David is very likely the same as his Maimonides or Moses. Huimach plays the part of Joshua. Quetzalcoatl in relation to Huimach plays the part of Joshua. So you got this Quetzalcoatl-Joshua connection. Huimach, like Moses, wrote the code of laws for the nation and conducted the civil government. Moses wrote the code. The code, man. The Torah. The Torah. The Sefer HaMitzvah. But so did Anan ben David in 770. And that's what we're digging on. That's the type of heat we're digging on with Moses writing the code. So it's all happening. It's all happening, man. Prester John was believed to have the power of cutting off the flow of the Nile, the Nahal. Remember the Nahal? The Nahal River? The Nahal River? Towards Egypt. So Prester John David controlled the flow. We're talking San Benyan River, right? We're talking the Mississippi, right? We're talking the Amazon, the Arnon. The Nile, right? The Nahal, right? Because he controlled the flow. He can cut off the flow. Prester John can cut off the flow. The Arnon Anion. The Amazon, the Mar-Non. Love to Mr. Mafioso. Love to Paco for that Book of the Beginnings drop. He can cut the flow off. Prester John was believed to have the power of cutting off the flow of the Nahal. How can this priest king Prester John cut off the Nile? What about the pharaohs? In documents and legends in the 15th century, Prester John appears with the personal name of At-Saneb, a corruption of Arabic, Salib, servant of the cross. All right, the towel, let's go. Legends inspired the great Italian poets of the 16th century. Orlando Furioso describes the travels of Alf-Stafo, knight of the court of Emperor Charles the Great, to the Ethiopia to visit and liberate the Emperor Sanapo. What's going on, man? What's going on? Intriguing link between Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan, and Prester John, and the link between Prester John, Ethiopia, formerly Abyssinia. Prester John, Emperor de los Abyssinias. Abyssinia. Link between Abyssinia, the apostle or evangelist Presbyter John of the 2nd century, who we believe is the mythical figure meant to obscure John and Mark, whom we say is the author of the Gospels of Mark and John. Uh-oh. Are we getting the real phantom and duplicate, the real original popping off? They had to use this, man. They had to use this to put you under a spell in the New Test. They had to use the priest king. They had to use your real legendary, hereditary, foundational water who controls the flow, as well as the Johannine epistles in the book of Revelation, where they getting the drop from, and perhaps the book of Hebrews, where they getting the drop from. Syncretic. They're tying this link, this Coldridge is putting this link between Kublai Khan, Prester John, Abyssinia, Mount Ame'rican, Abara, Asmara, and Eden. Uh-oh. Kublai Khan, grandson and mom of Genghis Khan, all right, was a Mongol conqueror who stretched his empire from Russia, one of the Indias, or one of the Ethiopias. Bang. All right, man, you get this drop, man. You get this drop. Oh, yeah, it's what I wanted. It reads like, all right, Coleridge's poem, however, contains suggestions, reminiscences from another part of the Perkaz book, and probably from other books as well. It reads like auras of reminiscences from several accounts of natural or enchanted parks, and from various descriptions of that elusive and danger-fraught garden, Eden, which mystic geographers have studied to locate from Florida to Cathay. From Florida to Cathay. They're looking for the garden from Florida to Cathay. They've located the elusive garden. These geographers have studied to locate it from Florida to Cathay, which wouldn't make no sense at all, man, unless we saw Cathay on the map and we know Florida, and now we see Florida to Cathay. Another map, please. Please bring up another map. La Florida, Cateo. They're looking for the garden. They've located it from what? La Florida to Cateo. Get it? Oh, we're breaking the spell in real time, man. Enchanted parks, enchanted. This elusive garden, these descriptions, these mystic geographers have studied to locate from Florida to Cathay. From Florida to Kata, Kara. Prester John is the leader of the Karians, right? Kara, Kata, Cathay, Cathnis. Right here in India Superior, right? Oh, man. It's all happening, man. And, it's a lot of drive. They go into John de Mandeville. They go into this paradise, all throughout these travels of John Mandeville. It's all good drive to get. all good drop the gig. They got this poem, about this river. And they try to break it down. They're talking about where's the sacred river ran. A stately pleasure dome decree. Where Aleph, the sacred river ran through caverns measureless to man. And they want to put their thoughts in it. And from this chasm with ceaseless turmoil seething as if this earth is fast, thick pants were breathing, a mighty fountain momentarily was forced, amid whose swift half-intermittent burst, huge fragments vaulted like rebounding hail or chaffy grain beneath the thresher's flail. And mid these dancing rocks at once and ever it flung up momentarily the sacred river. And mid this tumult, Kublai heard from afar ancestral voices prophesying war. Oh man, it was a miracle of rare device, a sunny pleasure dome with caves of ice. In a vision once I saw, it was an Abyssinian maid, and on her dulcier she prayed, singing of Mount Orbor. Could I revive within me her sympathy and song to such a deep delight 'twould win me, that with music loud and long, I would build that dome in air, that sunny dome, those caves of ice. I would build that dome. Sounds like Tower of Babel almost, right? And all should cry, beware, beware, his flashing eyes, his floating hair, weave a circle round him thrice, and close your eyes with holy dread, for he, O honeydew, hath fed and drunk the milk of paradise. What has this got to do with Eden? And the fact that Genghis Khan invaded you here. He probably just crossed right on over. You know what I mean? It probably happened just like that. And now you got his grandson talking about this sacred river and Eden over here that they're looking for, this garden, anywhere from Florida to Cathay. All this, man. So keep surfing away, man. We just wanted to dig on Daniel some more, man, and just realize they're hiding something, man. They're hiding something. They're not giving us all the drop when it comes to what they say, the prophet, but he's really, the Khan, the Exilarch, the son of David. All praise our creator. Allah, Wa, Thawada for surfing the wave. Look out for the next one. You know what I mean? And keep leaving your comments, because your comments are very important. Keep following, you know what I'm saying, just the great breadcrumbs, that come out in all these links. And keep dropping them, man, to your neighbor. So we break the spell together. Because if we don't do it together, it won't happen. Unity over everything. All praise our creator. Allah.